I want to tell you a story about this pothos plant. I'm getting ready to move this plant into a different room, and I just got to thinking about the history of this spectacular pothos. Here's the story. About 2 years ago, I started growing this pothos from just a few leaves, kind of like these. And I planted those leaves in a huge pot, and I built this enormous wire structure around the leaves and around the pot. And of course, the leaves were just way down there in the soil to start with, not even close to the wire. And some of my friends thought this was hilarious. They laughed at me and mocked me and ridiculed me mercilessly, saying, "What do you think you're doing? Why are you planting such a small, tiny little plant in such a huge pot with such an enormous wire structure built around it?" Well, here we are a couple years later, and this is the answer. See, I had a vision for the pothos. I had an idea in my mind of its potential and what it could become. And that's why I planted it in such a huge pot and built such an enormous wire structure around it. And that's why I watered it consistently and fed it and made sure it got enough sunlight. And look at it now. What an amazing plant. So that's the story of the pothos. And I see a lot of similarities between its story and your story of your journey with violin and the story of your journey in life. I bet you can see a lot of similarities too. A lot of times people tell me they're amazed that I ask 4 and 5 and 6-year-olds to play violin with such a high level of intonation and tone quality and musicality and expression. They're like, "How do you do that? How do you get such a young person to make that kind of sound on the violin?" And the answer is, I have a vision for that student. I can see them in my mind and hear them in my mind 12, 14 years from now, and I hear them playing violin with a level of artistry, beautiful tone colors, vast expression, complete mastery of intonation and musicality. And therefore, I build the structure now. That's why we practice now with a high level of intonation. That's why we practice now with beautiful tone, musicality, and expression. And that's why we start now building habits of deep practice, which are required for artistry. See, this pothos plant, I couldn't put it into this wire frame now. It had to grow into it. I had to start with the vision, and the plant grew into that vision. And it's like that with the violin journey too. We have a vision of 12, 14 years from now, and that determines how we practice today. So what are your visions and dreams and goals for your violin playing? 1 week from now, 1 year from now, 10 years from now, what kind of sound do you want to have? Do you want to have a kind of sound that you love? Do you want to have a kind of sound that people want to hear? A kind of sound where people will be on the edge of their seats listening for every single note? What kind of person do you want to be 10 years from now? Do you want to be the kind of person that has love and respect for your parents, for your siblings, for your friends? Do you want to have empathy and compassion in your heart for the people around you? Do you want to have ninja levels of focus and concentration and memory and coordination? Then, based on those visions and dreams and goals, how will you practice today? How will you live today? Yeah, let me know. In your next violin lesson, let me know what you think. How is your story similar to the story of the Pothos?